Today we will be speaking with Mantas Katinas, the head of Invest Lithuania, agency dedicated for foreign investment promotion in Lithuania. Mantas has a tremendous impact with Invest Lithuania, making the country a top 3 performer in FDI attraction in Europe. Before that, for almost 10 years, he has worked in marketing, business development, and digital transformation at the biggest telecommunications company in Lithuania, Teo. He specializes in the future business trends and models, as well as innovation economies. Mantas, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for joining us to share your knowledge about Lithuanian economy. I would like to ask you about your experience with Invest Lithuania. As far as I know, you joined in 2015 and did quite a lot of interesting projects.
Yes, I think I've spent almost 5 years at this agency. We actually experienced a huge growth in the last 5 years. So every year it brings us more and more different investors. So I think we attracted Continental, Hella, Hollister, which is a very huge manufacturing players in Kaunas. Also, global financial institutions like Moody's, Nasdaq, Revolut, a lot of the fintechs.
What was for you personally interesting in working for a public agency, as before you worked for a private company? So maybe there were some differences.
There is couple of similarities which people don't think that they exist. One of them is actually that Invest Lithuania's agency is actually the B2B sales company. So we are working with huge international players, and we are selling them some opportunities, and they bring for Lithuania from 5 million to 200 million euros per project. So I could compare this business with the B2B, where the selling cycle is from 6 months to 3 years, and this is not something very different. But from other perspective, naturally, when you work for the country, you have a lot of inspirations and motivation, because you can change the landscape of the country just by doing your usual activities. So a lot of my colleagues which work in this agency know that we can transform the cities in 3 years, in 5 years, and the global investors can help us. So I think that working for a state, if you're working in a very motivated environment, brings a lot of the meaningfulness for your life, and I enjoy this very much.
Could you shortly explain to our listeners who are not, some of them are not coming from business and not really familiar with Invest Lithuania activities, how does your role and day-to-day work look like, and how basically Invest Lithuania attract those investments?
So naturally, Invest Lithuania is an agency which was established by the state, and this is not a unique example. Every country actually has similar agencies. We call them IPA, Investment Promotion Agencies. And these agencies helps for a state to attract investors. But I think when we are trying to compare ourselves, there is a two approach. One is reactive, when you're just waiting for an investor, and when you see him, you try to help him. And another way is actually proactive approach. So when you're actually trying to sell, so you're looking for investors, we're using different marketing channels, we use different sales techniques. So Invest Lithuania is defining some specific industries which we think for Lithuania have better fit. For example, it could be fintech, cybersecurity, global business services, or automotive manufacturing. And we are digging into the data, looking for companies which is working in our region, in Germany, in the Nordic Europe, in the United States, United Kingdom. So we select specific countries and specific industries, and trying to use different sales channels to address our opportunities. So we write cold emails, we send LinkedIn emails, we use digital campaigns, we go into the international events, we are trying to use our ambassadors or other specialists, for example, Lithuanians who lived abroad, and they can open the gates into the C-level management in the huge corporations. And when we have opportunity to present Lithuania, we're showing examples what Lithuania already can offer for a company. We use examples of our previous investors who are happy and give references. And this gives us opportunities to attract every year from 20 to 40 companies in Lithuania.
Did you feel any more companies coming to Lithuania after Brexit was announced?
Brexit triggered a lot of the things because when you want to work in Europe, you need to have a license. That brings us opportunity because a lot of the technology companies which is working in the international area trying to get the license in Europe. So I think that's kind of one of the opportunities Lithuania. But generally speaking, the Brexit is a very complicated thing. I don't believe that it's very easy to trigger the knowledge and to gain advantages of this. You're gaining something and you're losing at the same time. So you never know what will be the surplus.
What is happening in Lithuanian life sciences field? I was reading that this field is currently growing 20 to 25% yearly. How many companies are working in Lithuania and what kind of things are they doing?
So Lithuania has specific gene, I would say, in life science just because from our independence, two Lithuanian scientists actually created a very, very good companies. And both of them was acquired by international giants. So one of them was Thermo Fisher, and another one was acquired by Teva, the global player. And they created very huge companies in Lithuania. So Thermo Fisher Scientific now receives the biggest profit in Lithuanian companies landscape. That gives us very good first cluster initiatives. So we already have huge international players. We have very good scientific base. Probably you have known that Lithuanian professor Viktor Šikšnys was one of the co-founders of the CRISPR technology globally. So we kind of believe that Lithuania could create a very good opportunity in life science, but by the same time, we are struggling to scale this industry because after Thermo Fisher and Teva expand Lithuania, we don't see a lot of new players which are coming into the country. And now the whole institutional cluster trying to create a new united selling proposition and create some specific elements which could attract new players. And that's not easy. So I couldn't tell that we're going to succeed, but I definitely know that we need to try because biotechnology is something what is coming. So digital revolution already happening, and the next which is arriving is actually from bio industry.
And do you think that life science industry will help Lithuania to grow steadily its economy so it would escape the so-called middle income trap? Because some economists in Lithuania and elsewhere in the world are mentioning that a lot of post-Soviet Union countries or countries that joined EU in 2004 are facing that challenge because they need to innovate and they need to, adapt and have a really skilled workforce.
In a way, that's true. So if you want to break this middle income trap ceilings, or at least to become advanced economy, you need to have the sectors which is the best players globally. The difference is that when the countries are competing, the CE countries and Lithuania, we need to compete with the already established huge players like Sweden, Denmark, Finland. So we need to look into the future even deeper. And I keep telling people that we cannot repeat what other countries already did and to win this game. So we need to go even into the newest areas of this new economic industries, and that will bring us a chance to compete in a new arena. So biotechnologies could be one of the fields, fintech could be another one. Technology and digital industries is still very booming industry, and Lithuania already is very strong. So for the last 2 years, I've seen a lot of the German companies fascinating that the Baltic nations are so advanced in technology business. And I think that could be a very good opportunity for Baltic countries, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, actually to create very good examples for Western world that we can compete and be forefront countries in new industries.
Actually, it's very interesting that you're mentioning Germany. I live in Berlin, in Germany, and I can see a huge difference between how digital is Lithuania, where I lived before, and how sometimes not digital is Germany. Because, for instance, internet connection is the thing people complain in here. Even in the capital, when you enter the shop, the internet connection disappears, or when you leave leave the city for like 20 kilometers or 10 kilometers or go on a higher hill, the internet disappears. But at the same time, knowing that Germany had more time to innovate, and its economy was growing steadily for much longer than Lithuanian economy, and Germany is a bigger country with more money to invest, why do you think Lithuania managed to have the technology going faster and manage always to innovate and be more flexible than a bigger country like Germany?
One of the things is that it's more from sociology. When a country and society is becoming rich, they come sustainably, and they don't want to change a lot of the things because it's painful. When you already have your life, which brings a lot of the happiness to you, and somebody is telling, we need now to just rebuild everything from the scratch, it's very hard from psychology perspective. So most of the countries which is already doing great, for them, it's very big danger to kind of also to be in this trap of not changing yourself. And not just for Germany, but for other countries as also. We can name Italy, we can name France, which is successful countries in a way, but when I see the change cycle and the change process, they are too slow. And Darwin said that not the strongest species, but the ones who are most adaptable to change will survive this game. So Lithuania, in a way, is still hungry for action. We still have a lot of ambitions to change ourselves because we want to compete. And another area that in Lithuania, if you was young specialist 10 years ago, technology brought you blue ocean because you can create your business from Vilnius and to operate globally. It's not easy to do it actually in hardware business, because if you're selling some metal parts, it's easier to do your business in Germany because you have a lot of the clients which is buying from your perspective. So naturally, Lithuania have chosen the technology because it was easier for us to re-enter into the global economy. And now we already have some knowledge which is unique even in the global perspective.
It's very interesting. Actually, all the three Baltic states are relatively small, but doing quite well with digital technologies. And Estonia is a great example of spreading that message and really having great communication of it, because anywhere you go they talk about Estonia. So I was wondering, what do you think Lithuania can learn from its neighbors, or what can we say that it was implemented already after we understood that even Estonia can go on the international level and be referenced as the most digital country in the world?
Estonia is really good at marketing. So they have chosen one topic. They created some specific kind of products like an e-residency, and they brought this message to the world. And for this, is huge applause. They managed to do it brilliantly. When we talk about more tangible assets like the specific knowledge, Estonia is good at digital infrastructure. Estonia is good at digital competency, but Lithuania is actually it's not so big difference between these nations. We also have a lot of the technology companies in Lithuania. We have a lot of success stories. Actually, we're bringing more foreign companies into Lithuania. So, in particular, a digital skill set, I don't see a huge difference. All Baltic nations can play this game, except that now, when one country is already created top of priority in the mindset, it's not kind of the smart to do the same game. So Lithuanians just don't need to compete with Estonia and saying we also have digital. We need to find our own story and to tell it.
And this story is going to be about life sciences, or what's the recipe for the future, success and the growth of Lithuania?
I think that generally speaking, we need to understand what's happening in the future, and that's one of my places of interest. And I think I know a lot of the things. So biotechnologies, the digital revolution is still happening. artificial intelligence is just starting to transform the industries. So the only thing what the countries need to embrace, we need to scale our knowledge as fast as we can. Because now we already have the skill set in capital of the country, in Vilnius, but if we want to create very sustainable economy, the hardest asset is actually to bring this knowledge into the other regional perspective and to create not just one cluster in the country, but at least 3 or 4 or 5. That will bring us opportunity to grow and transform our economy in the next decade. But this brings us to education, which is one of my interest fields, and I think it's not easy for every country to transform education to adapt to the future. But this is the only chance. And actually, this recipe is the same for Germany and for Lithuania and for United Kingdom. If we want to compete in the global arena with China and United Kingdom and United States of America, we need to transform our education, and that will bring us opportunities.
Inner motivations are very important. And this is what led Lithuania from gaining independence almost 30 years ago. Actually, the economy grew around 400%. And in some of the sources, Lithuania is being referred as Baltic Tiger. Do you think we can still call ourselves a Baltic Tiger, or we should reinvent this term and use the marketing, or how we gonna call ourselves in the future?
My choice will be to use something which related with the innovation. Baltic Tiger was the good name for 10 years ago when our economy grew just because we have in this kind of a lot of the internal potential. But now, if you want to impress somebody worldwide, you need to talk about innovation, new business models, new technologies, because this is the future. And I actually see a lot of potentials in the Baltics and Lithuania in particular, because we already have very good genes. When I meet international business leaders, C-level management for a Fortune 500, they say that in Lithuania, they see particular culture of doing things perfectly, ambitious to change, and that's very important because we know that culture is one of the hardest things to create. If you don't have it, it's kind of impossible to create in the short term. So we already have the culture, we already have the competence in some specific fields. Our existing challenge is to scale this competence because we already have a lot of the successful people in Lithuania. The problem, if we want to create a very huge success, we need to scale this success. Not just 100 people in a fintech, not the 1,000 in engineering, but 100,000 in one area and 100,000 in another one. And this is not easy, but I think it's achievable because from our internal perspective, I think that to change a small country with a good culture and there's still a lot of motivation, it is much easier than to change a country which is very huge, very rich, very already happy. Maybe they have warm climate and don't need to do anything.
You were just mentioning the business culture. So how would you describe that business culture to somebody who never been to Lithuania or never worked with Lithuanians? Is it something similar to Scandinavian work culture, which is very flat hierarchy, very straightforward communication? Or is it more like German business culture, which is more a top-down approach with, clearly defined responsibilities? Or American, or, there are different business cultures around the world. And what's the, unique features or similarities of Lithuanian business culture?
So the one thing I hear from our client that most of the time they are impressed that the skill set and level and attitude of Lithuanian employees they receive. So when you hire Lithuanians, they do the task and they say, we can improve this task. We don't believe that it's efficient for the company. So in a way, they challenge the internal processes and try to rechange the processes, rechange the product. And that gives ability that we have ambitious. We have ambitious and we still have very good mindset of the responsibilities. So German investors like what Lithuania can give in responsibility level because we can be trusted colleagues. We are from our national diagram, that's one of the fields. But to answer your question very directly, I believe that Lithuanian business culture is becoming more and more Nordic. We already have a lot of the players from Nordic countries, from Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway. And we see that a lot of the young Lithuanian professionals actually prefer Nordic culture when we are trying to compare it into German or United States of American culture.
Swedish companies historically invested the most in Lithuania. Are there any more countries that particularly interested in, investing or building their companies within Lithuania?
So, from a country perspective, the number one country in FDI is United States of America, and I believe that for the next 5 years, United States of America is number one priority for Lithuania. This relates with some geopolitical cycles. Nordic countries found Baltics interested 15 years ago, and now we see the best. When we see the numbers, we see the best. Sweden and Finland and Denmark was interested in Baltics, but actually they invested a lot. They bought the banks, they bought telco industry, they invested in the global business services. We have some technology businesses. But now when we see opportunities, especially in Invest Lithuania's sales pipeline, we actually see that the United States of America is becoming more and more interested in Europe. And for the last 2 years, we received the Moody's investment, the Bergen, McKesson. We still have the leads from the United States of America. And I believe that Lithuania could create kind of the very good cluster from global players in Europe.
So what is the role of the global Lithuanians in attracting the investments? As far as I remember, the person who was pitching for Lithuania within Western Union was Lithuanian, and the same happened with Barclays and a few other companies. Do you feel similar trends as well, that Lithuanians living outside Lithuania are still keen to promote or in any other way to spread the message about that it's great to do business in Lithuania as well?
Historically speaking, Lithuanian diaspora was always a big supporter of the Lithuanian economy. Even in our foreign direct investment area, you mentioned Western Union. We also have Uber, when the Lithuanian colleague actually convinced the management that they can create a technology unit in Vilnius. And we have a lot of the similar examples. Now I would say that if we dig deeper, about 25% of all foreign direct investors have some Lithuanian gene in the story. That could be Lithuanian, which is working in the country, in the company. That could be Lithuanian who actually advised for a C-level management to go into the country, and a lot of different stories we receive from this. So the first thing that you need to believe that Lithuania actually could have opportunities, and we actually not asking for help. We actually helping for our companies to grow. And if you believe that, the only thing you need to do is spread the message and to play it as a sales advisor.
For instance, if I need some support, can I just go on your website and message somebody and say, hey guys, can you share me the pitch? I need to, brush it up on my the key points to mention or the numbers. Is there such a support from Invest Lithuania or other agency?
So we try to create our website, which will be data as a service. So a lot of the different reports and presentation is freely available for everyone. So if you are working in a particular sector, you just open the sector and website. For example, if you're working in a global service industry, you have the GBS industry. If you're in technology, you have technology sales pitch, and you use it. If you have particular story and you're already connected with the C-level management and you see that it could be a very good opportunity, so you send us a message, and we're trying to help bring our message to the client. But this is not easy. So I would say that from 100 stories we receive, just a couple of them going into the upper levels, and the company is planning the visits in Lithuania. So it's a very constant process. You do it 100 times and you have 5% or 7% conversion, which brings us investors.
Do you keep supporting the companies after they decide to invest in Lithuania, or then they start communicating with other agencies?
So we are working with an account management style. So every company has account manager, which is the CRM system is still taking care of the company. We're trying to create a communities and some platform on the competence exchange. We're working with universities, trying to bring universities to the client, just trying to bring the community which is evolving and happy to serve and to another players. And that's not easy, because this is not just a business, it's already ecosystem building. And to build an ecosystem, it's very different approach than to build a business.
Is it easy for people who are not from Lithuania to go into that ecosystem? If, for example, some of the workers of that company relocate to Lithuania, do you think the country is accepting and they find the joy and happiness in the new place?
What we receive from our client, that Vilnius had very good fit for international competences. Historically speaking, Vilnius is built by different nations. Even the architecture and atmosphere, when you're traveling in the city, you can feel that it's a lot of the different international perspective. What I receive from our client, that the new managers which are coming from different places all over the world, they say that Vilnius is very welcoming them. And I believe that's true, because actually it's very liberal, free city, which very good vibe. A lot of a young generation people are here, a lot of the events. So if you're traveling here, most of the time our clients think that we are very impressed with the buildings. But I'm talking not about whole Lithuania, but about couple cities. So couple cities are already international, and regions still need to grow to create this.
What else do you think would be useful to know for the people who might be thinking of investing in Lithuania or relocating to Lithuania for work?
We have much more positive landscape here than you can read in the media, so don't believe what you read in the media. Another part that I see a lot of changes, good changes in Lithuania, and I believe that we're going to create a lot of success in the future. So this is not kind of the gamble that you come here and then you won't see a lot of opportunities. Our actually hardest part, as I mentioned, is to scale this success. I see that Vilnius and Kaunas is already successful, and they will be successful in the future, because it's just growing. New sectors are growing, new investors are coming, and our challenge is to spread this success into the other regional parts of Lithuania and to bring more competences in new areas. If you are somewhere out and if you miss Lithuania, talk with your parents, talk to your friends which are here, and you'll meet a lot of the people who are already here and they're happy doing business in Lithuania.
Yes, it sounds really inspiring, and I can confirm to that people are very positive in Lithuania. And I think Vilnius was even selected as the most positive city in Europe, because people believe that the future and tomorrow will be better for sure. And it is better because the economy is growing and more companies are coming to Lithuania. And the last question about overall Lithuanians' role in the current economy of the world, because currently the world is facing global environmental crisis. Different countries within the EU are talking about their population shrinking, and players like US, and especially current president of US, is mentioning China as one of the growing influences in the world and trying to make different policies to decrease it. So what do you think is the role of the small country Lithuania in these kind of changes, global changes?
I don't remember the exact person who actually created this citation, but I think that small countries are better ambassadors of morality in the world. We don't want to compete and win the games of war with someone. We don't want to spread the influence and to somehow to be stronger than others. We believe in a world where everyone is happy and everyone is treated like equal. I think small nations will be the best ambassadors in the world, which will be fighting for democracy, for humanism, for sustainable energy, because we want to be in this positive world. Because our scenario is not actually so optimistic. Huge superpowers are trying to compete between each other, even in artificial intelligence, so they need a lot of the gun power, new energy, but all innovation is going into the war. And we already seen this Cold War societies 50 years ago. I don't believe that the world wants to to go in this direction. And small nations always needs to keep this sustainable scenario.
Thank you so much for such a great answer and the whole interview introducing Lithuanian economy to our listeners. We were really honored to have a chance to speak with the head of Invest Lithuania and to learn more about investment ecosystem and field within the country, and actually to see it from the eyes of the business. I hope this interview will inspire more people to come visit Lithuania and maybe even invest or do business.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to see you soon in Lithuania.